Namaste. A very good Sunday morning to all of you. Thank you all for joining us this morning for a very special occasion. Welcome to the Heritage Stories and Performing Arts page. I'm Sarita Nair, founder of HSPA. At HSPA, we bring to you stories of India, stories of our history, heritage, performing arts, through performing arts as well. Today, we have gathered here on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti. And amidst us, we have a very, very special guest, a medical practitioner who's also a teacher, a motivational speaker, an influencer. And I also see him as a very, very engaging storyteller. To know furthermore about him, I would like to invite my co-host, Usha Venkatraman, who is an author, award-winning storyteller, a singer, and the founder of Mumbai Storyteller Society. Over to you, Usha.
Thank you, Sarita, and wishing everyone a very happy Gandhi Jayanti. No man's life can be encompassed in one telling. I reflect upon the 75 years passing on since that cold, frosty winter evening in January, and all I remember is a little boy with a very big heart. He dreamt of a world where no living thing was ever hurt and everyone wanted the best of all. A private man without wealth, without property, without official title or office. We are talking about a little brown man in loincloth who led his country to freedom. I invite you today to view Bapu's story, the little boy with a big heart, who gave a simple lesson to those who hope for a bright future. Sometimes the power of peace is greater than the power of force. The story that is about to unfold today through the lens of his great-grandson, Dr. Anand Gokani. Let me give you a little brief about Anand Gokani, a consultant physician and diabetes and metabolic diseases as a specialty, practices in Mumbai city at the Bombay Hospital for the past 34 years. Anand has been in private practice for 36 years. In addition to practicing medicine, he lectures to students, both medical and non-medical, on issues ranging from specific medical conducts, specific medical issues to esoteric subjects of universal interest and application. He conducts seminars and workshops on stress management, leadership, and ethics and values. He has been a visiting faculty member for the Institute for Gandhian Studies and the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences in Wardha, teaching students of medicine and political science on issues pertaining to Gandhian thought on health, hygiene, ethics, and values. Anand is also a trustee at the Bombay Medical Aid Foundation, which renders financial and medical support to the needy patients to enable them to obtain the best medical care. The foundation also runs an eye hospital offering comprehensive care at competitive rates. He founded a palliative care ward at the hospital to care for the terminally ill patients, to give them comfort and dignity in the last months of their life. Anand is an avid traveler, writes and reads diversely, and enjoys sports and photography. He is married and has 2 sons, 2 daughters or daughters-in-law, and 3 grandsons. So welcome, Anand, to Itihaas Ke Pannon Se, to the Heritage Stories and Performing Arts.
Thank you so much, Usha and Sarita. You all
Namaste.
have painted a picture of me which I don't recognize myself. And having raised the bar so high, I sincerely hope I can jump as high as you want me to.
Firstly, sir, namaste, and thank you so
Namaste.
much for taking time to join us this morning on this very special occasion. It's an honor to have someone from the family, Gandhi family, here with us today. And your journey has been so inspiring. So, with your permission, we would like to begin this conversation for this morning. And let me start with, your journey of from being a medical practitioner who's so passionate and compassionate with the work that you do, as Usha ma'am read, to a motivational speaker and a teacher who influences the youth. Do share with us this shift or this journey, which is, a part of your life.
See, it all starts in my young days when I I was very fond of reading, and my reading was very diverse. Obviously, looking for some things interesting in every subject, and being in the school which laid the foundation of my life, which is the Cathedral and John Connon School. We the books that I read led me into various avenues, and in that I was influenced to veer away from business, which is my family culture, to medicine, because I read Arthur Haley's Final Diagnosis, and I said, this is the life I want to lead. And I worked hard from the seventh standard onwards, since I read that book and many others after that, to do medicine. Initially against the wishes of family and culture prevailing at home, but later it wouldn't have been possible without their support. So having got into medicine, I realized that this is an area I can serve people and at the same time make out my living. So that's how I got into medicine. And it's been a nice journey. Medicine has given me back a lot, as well as uh, given me a lot of other opportunities. Now, by a stroke of luck, I was in the field of diabetes because my teacher was a diabetes specialist, and diabetes being a chronic disease, in those days when I trained, it was maybe one in 10,000 people was diabetic. So people would wonder and would tell me that, how will you make out a living just being a specialist in diabetes? But as the years rolled by, I don't know whether it was fortuitous or it was happened, it was ordained to be, but changing lifestyles all over the world, increasing stress, and there was a huge boom in diabetes, and I found myself inundated with work. In that period, I started thinking. I said, I feel like as standing at the bottom of the Niagara Falls, waiting for the water to fall down, and the water being patients, being people who are on the ride, and then when they come crashing down the Niagara Falls, I'm waiting to pick up their pieces. So I decided that I'm going to formulate a system wherein I can go to the source and help people navigate. And that navigation would help them to save the massive fall that comes at the end of it. And so I devised lectures and talks for professionals in the corporate world. And then I said, that's also not enough, because they are already grown up and they already have fixed ideas. And so I went on to school. And for that, I'm very thankful to Mrs. Isaacs of Cathedral School, who gave me the first break and said that, since you look so enthusiastic about this, I'm going to hand you my worst 12th standard batch, and you take them out and do what you please with them. And if anything's left of all of you at the end of it, send them back to school. And so started my journey with school, and teaching children on socially useful and productive work, which is a subject for them, and ethics, morals, principles, leadership qualities. And it became an adventure which I look forward to every day for the entire year, waiting for that 5 day camp. These children soon became my best friends and allies, and many of them continue to be friends with me even as they have grown into adulthood, and have very happily become ambassadors of the same principles. And so I realized that I have a very good, um, I have a good avenue of propagating some of the good values which I had the fortune of learning and imbibing and practicing. And I put them into children at a young age. And it's worked pretty well. So that's the journey thus far, where I'm dabbling with so many different areas, the areas of terminal medicine, the areas of chronic degenerative disease like diabetes, and areas where I can work on the fresh and clean slates as those in children, and then also help the corporate world to achieve excellence through good health. So these are the areas I have been working on in a summary. Sarita,
Thank you,
you're,
Anand.
yeah.
Just wanted, could you elaborate a little bit about the youth camps that you conduct with the youth?
It started off as a camp for the 12th standard children to 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 tick the box that marked SUPW, because it was a very painful subject. Children didn't want to do anything which was like akin to manual labor, and there were no teachers willing to take it because curriculum itself in school was so tight. So when I was asked, can I find a teacher for them, I gave it deep thought and I said, what does it take to teach children SUPW? We just take them somewhere and make them do something. And so after I couldn't find someone else, I went and volunteered to the teachers. And I said that, you mind if I take the camp? And they looked at me amazed. And they said that, are you sure you know what you're getting into? And so I said, I don't care, I'll discover. And if it's regretful, I won't do it again. But I went to the library and bought 3 books, to the bookshop and bought 3 books. How to talk such that children will listen, how to listen such that children will talk, and teaching children responsibility. And I read them in 1 week. And I said, now I'm equipped to talk to them and take them out. With that, I decided to formulate a 5-day program. And fearing indiscipline and uprising amongst the children, I realized that they are 17-year-old, 120 children versus that at that time a 50-year-old single person. And I said, it's got quite a daunting task. Let me make it such that they just don't have a chance to rebel. So I gave them a program which went on from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and wrenched all the energy out of them. But in the bargain, they had so much fun that at the end of the camp, I had 2 uniform feedbacks. One is that these were the best 5 days of my life. And the other was that we came here as friends and we are going back as family. And these 2 sentences, they had me overwhelmed. And I said that I think my efforts were not wasted. And so when we got back and the teachers got this follow up, then it became a regular feature and it became a camp every year. Then it slowly spread to 2 or 3 other schools. And the other schools also asked me to do. And some of the schools asked me to do it from 8th standard to 12th standard, which meant about 4 camps in a year. So presently, I sometimes realize that I am doing 6 to 7 camps a year of 5 days each. And each camp takes a month to recover because you come back physically completely exhausted, but spiritually completely elevated. And these camps have been my sustaining feature in life because the mundane act of going to hospital every day and treating sick people can discharge some of the most powerful batteries. But these children, they energize and reinvent me in more ways than I can count. So it's become a practice, and in the side I have been able to influence them sometimes, and some of them have done really well for themselves. And I dare say there is one parent amongst the audience today whose daughter is really making all of us proud. So I know that activity is making small waves, if at if not big waves amongst children. And I think investing in children means investing in a better future.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you. Over to you, Sarita.
Wow. And so while you were talking about SUPW, I have a 13-year-old who
Yeah.
was nodding her head here and saying yes. And I'm sure she resonates with me when I say that if we have teachers like you, education would be completely different.
There
It's
are many teachers like better
and
than me.
many more. Here's wishing for many, many more. So thank you for sharing that and what inspired you to share your time and knowledge with children in a format which is making it so engaging and interesting for them. And looking forward to many more schools being a part of this camp. So talking about time, I mean, you're investing time and energy which you are taking out from your practice. I have come across a lot of words in your talks while I was listening to them, where I hear the word clock and compass as metaphors quite often. So, if you could throw some light on what do those words mean to you, and when did you realize the importance of that in your life? If you can share that with us.
Sarita, you are opening a Pandora's box and you'll need the whole day to listen to me now. But it's not this, when I was researching for the children of a curriculum which would be productive for them, I realized that they know everything about all the usual things. They are very smart children. They may not practice them, but they know everything. So if I have to present it to them in a meaningful way, in a short, succinct message, then how do I present it? And I realized that for them, you see, today they have two phrases which I hate, and I teach them that. One is hanging out. They say I'm hanging out with my friends, and the other is what are you doing? Is I'm chilling. And I took these two phrases and I thought about them, and I then explained to them that I know only of one thing that hangs out. Those are wet clothes on a drying line, and one dead shirt speaking to a dead trouser hanging on a hanging line of a drying line is saying to each other that we are hanging out together. And I said, you children are not dead. You are full of life, and therefore you must never hang out. You must spend time in a productive way. And similarly, I know only of one thing that chills. Forget about food in the refrigerator. The real only thing that really chills as far as humans are concerned are dead bodies in a morgue, which are inside the freezer. And I said, when two friends meet, they don't say we chill together. It's like two dead bodies talking to each other in a morgue, saying that we are chilling together. So these two phrases led me to think of the shortness of life, however long it may be. And that's why I realized that time is important. And time is indicated to us by a clock. And so I said this time is very important. How we spend time, how we, in Rudyard Kipling's words, um, pack each unforgiving minute with 60 seconds of distance run. I said that you must have clock as a instrument in your life, as one of your navigating tools. And then I said, when you have time, where you are leading and what you are doing and which direction you are going is again only shown by the compass. So if I have to tell you that there are only two instruments in life that you have to have in your life, figuratively speaking, then I'd say you need a clock and a compass. The clock will tell you how much time you have, and the compass will tell you in which direction you're going. And if you have direction and use your time, I think you can make history. And I think that's exactly what every great man on earth, including Gandhiji, did, was use their time profitably to move in a direction that was productive. That's why the clock and compass.
Thank you, sir. And like you said, if you know the clock, your time, and the direction, you can make history, which you are doing yourself. So, with the kind
Not
of
sure of
work
that.
you're doing. And so, coming to history and talking about the family, that you're born into, Gandhiji's family. So, at what age did you realize as a child that this is the household that I'm born in, and these are the people in my life, and how did you feel? What was the thought, if you can remember, that went on, and how did that influence you when you realized where you were born?
till the third standard, I don't think anyone's aware of what is his family lineage and who's great and who's not great, except that you know who's your grandparents and who your parents are and your relatives in a very mechanical manner. So somewhere in the third standard, I remember my teacher had asked for my mother's contact details, and I asked why, and she said we want to invite her to address the assembly in the school. So I got a severe cramp in my abdomen thinking of my mother coming and addressing the assembly, and then after that, my friends would tease me in the usual childhood manner. But uh, when I went home and I told my mother that you have been invited to come for assembly and give a talk, I asked her, I said, why are they doing that? And then she told me that it is 2nd of October and they wanted someone from the Gandhi family. And that's about the first time when I actually understood what being in a Gandhi family means and what it is. Because till then, Gandhiji was an ethereal name which we had loosely heard on on the radio in those days, but not connected with anything else. So that was the first time. And the first time came with a mixed feelings of some kind of awe, I would say, not any other feeling, but awe as to, oh my God, I'm in that family. I didn't realize that. And the other feeling was a severe trepidation as to what will others accept this, because with the first they may feel that if introduced, they'll say this guy is bluffing or is got internet connection or
I think his internet connection has kind of
Yeah,
paused.
yeah.
emotions. And
We
so,
He's back.
sorry for
yes.
the interruption.
No,
So it was that mixed feelings with which I first came to know. And then after that, it continued, we got adapted to it. But I did realize that it gave me two things. One is an advantage and the other was a disadvantage. The advantage was that I had fame thrust upon me without asking for it. But having got the fame thrust upon you, you have to live up to it. When someone puts you on a stage, that's a huge treat to get on the stage. But after you get on the stage, then you got to talk something that makes any sense. And so it became a very severe trepidation again, that will I ever be able to live up to this reputation which have been thrust upon me, or should I just remain in anonymity and just be like every other person? Now in the bargain, I started doing. I was doing a lot of speaking and a lot of working in the fields of children, corporate, medicine, and so on. So I was doing my own work, and I was also studying about Gandhiji because many times I get called to talk, and I realized that Gandhiji's views, Gandhiji's ethics, morals, principles, they were as timeless as the mountains. And though we say Gandhiism, Gandhiji only threw light on pre-existing qualities. So I started studying from where Gandhiji studied, and I started chasing his fond reading habits. And I realized that when he was thrown into jail for various reasons, he was almost gifted free time, and said he sit in the jail and don't do anything, and he would occupy that free time with books. And in those periods he read books written by Leo Tolstoy and Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson and so many other great writers of that period. And he was particularly influenced by Civil Disobedience, written by Thoreau, and Self-Reliance, written by Emerson, and a variety of short stories written by Leo Tolstoy. And he decided that these stories would become the founding qualities of his life. And so that's what transformed him within jail by these great writers. So then at some point I picked up books written by these same people, and I read Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau in Old English, which was such an effort. But once you decipher that Old English, you realize how deep these people were. And in that, I learned not only about the civil disobedience movement of the US, which was initiated and continued by Henry David Thoreau and his followers, his contemporary being Ralph Waldo Emerson, who wrote on self-reliance and the importance of self-reliance, which Gandhiji extols as Swadeshi. And Swadeshi means not just buying Indian goods, but being an Indian at heart, which is a team of Team India. And so when I read these books, I also learned that both these gentlemen had studied these principles from our Upanishads. And they, being such learned scholars, had read our Upanishads, picked up these qualities, translated it, and written it as their books. And then Gandhiji, when he read these books and implemented it for India, Ralph Waldo Emerson has gone on record to say that I have paid back my debt to the country from where I learned this. So you suddenly realize that India is not only to be written at the back of a truck, Mera Bharat Mahan, is actually a country with a timeless culture. And we have such a huge heritage that we're not even aware of it. And once we start delving into it, we realize that we have it all over here. So I can't profess, I regret that I don't know how to read Sanskrit and I don't have the time to learn it at this stage. But I read the English translations written by scholars of other countries, and I realized how these values are ping-ponging. Upanishads to Emerson and Thoreau, Emerson and Thoreau to Gandhiji, Gandhiji back to Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King and Gandhiji to Nelson Mandela and Lech Walesa of Poland, and continues to go on to younger people of our generation. And these are timeless values. So we are talking, when we say about Gandhiji, 2nd of October, we remember timeless values. And this becomes the date when we honor those timeless values.
Thank you, Anand, for that glimpse into your reading, what you read, and of course, Gandhiji's, which mirrored Gandhi's, Bapu's reading. My next question to you, Anand, is, we celebrate Gandhi Jayanti as the joy of giving week, and then later it's become the Dan Utsav, and it's the festival of philanthropy. But tell me, who is left the most enduring image in you since your childhood? We all grow up listening to stories. So what stories did you grow up listening to?
Enduring images are very difficult to pinpoint, because when you had those images, your mind was not yet developed to register that it's coming, something big is coming. And I'd say we're just lucky that we had very good teachers. We had a sound family background. And if I have to pinpoint one person who actually taught me by action, when you say that your actions speak louder than your words, I would say it's my grandmother, who to me is the embodiment of Gandhiism in my living memory, because she was the wife of Gandhiji's third son. And he passed away in 69. So when I was just about 12 or 13 years old. And my grandmother continued to live till 2000. And till 2000, I had the fortune of being very close to her. And many things, whether it was nutrition, her exhortations on the dining table saying, first eat raw food and then eat your cooked food, because cooked food is dead food and raw food is living food. And that concept came in, and we first used to make fun of her, imitating her, but later realized the depth of what she said. And then when she once saw me dressed up in a suit going out at 9 o'clock in the night, and asked me, where are you going with this with this noose around your neck. And I said to her, I said, it's not a noose, it's called a necktie. And she says, yeah, it looks nice, but it must be very uncomfortable to wear so many clothes on a hot summer's day. And I said, no, this is the culture and the custom. We have to wear this much. So she asked me, where are you going? So I said, I'm going for a wedding. So she says, oh, you're going to bless the couple. How long will you be back in? So I said, I think a couple of hours. She said, you need a couple of hours to bless the couple. You should spend only 10 minutes. You should go there, bless the couple, meet 2, 3 people, and come back. No need to stay awake in the night. And we used to scoff at her and we used to tell her, you don't know anything, you're old fogey, and you just have all the, you don't like us to have fun. And then we'd go and we used to spend a lot of our time. And now when I sit back and think, I say, going for a wedding and meeting maybe even 100 people or 50 people, I ask myself, what is the depth of conversation in a wedding? Is hi, long time no see, you put on so much weight, you lost weight, where have you been all this time? And that's about it. And you flit to the next person, repeat the same thing, total meaningless prattle, which finally boils down to 2 hours of your life wasted. You add all these in a span of time and you found that days are wasted. And I realized the value of uh, time at that juncture, that however big your time seems, it's ultimately limited. And it's important for us to pack your time with meaningful stuff. Otherwise, you will find that at the end, when your time has come, you haven't done anything to write home about. So, these two timeless lessons I learned from her. One is to eat sensibly, and other is manage your time well. But I guess it takes time for you to learn about time. Can't learn about it in childhood, because if you did, then you would be gifted with something which is extraordinary. You won't know how to handle it. But I tell children what the meaning of time is. And fortunately, Pink Floyd, the rock band that plays such powerful music, has made a song on time. I tell the children to go and examine the lyrics of that song, and it will change their life. Especially when you see the sun is setting and you say you run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking, racing around to come back behind you again. Everything's the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death. And that line drives home your mortality and your fragility and your shortness of time, and how important it is to budget your time. So even a rock star can teach you good stuff. So it is it's something that when I teach the children, they realize. And they realize that in 5 days in the camp, they do more than what they did in 1 year in the school. And that itself teaches them that time is important.
Sorry, Anand, I'm just tempted to ask, would you extend these camps to people like us who are more in need of
Like
this?
you, when I'm ever ready to take camps with people like you, because I will learn everything. You're the one who will do the conducting.
That's
But but let me tell you, children are the teachers. They are the ones who teach you many things.
absolutely.
And I did camp for grown up people, and it's much easier to do it for grown up people, because then you're not really worried about mischief. So
Okay. So thank you, sir, for in the past few minutes I've been listening, and you have talked about advantages and disadvantages of being born in the household, which also I think a lot of people don't realize that. So thank you for sharing that very personal space. And you also spoke about interesting that I really found was how you parallelly went through the same journey that Gandhiji took in terms of the influences of his life, because many of us we are influenced with legends and people who have done great work, but we always wonder who influenced them. And here
yeah,
when shared about the books, I'm assuming that the influence also for him came from there. So it's interesting to see how, you know, you have brought into your workspace and your life not only what you have seen and heard, but also walking that path which somebody else has walked, and trying to imbibe that and share that. So that's really interesting. And talking about your grandmother, the nutrition, the food, so much of information into the personal life. One of the questions that come to me is, when you have been hearing these stories in your family, is there any anecdote or story of the Mahatma which has left a deep impact on you, which is a personal or a family story which is not known, or but has really impacted you deeply?
Open.
I think there's a small connectivity issue. We'll just check that.
He dabbled with so many. You're able to hear me? Yeah. So he dabbled with so many issues, like let's say in his childhood he dabbled with truth and honesty. He dabbled with non-vegetarian food. He was led into believing that if he has to fight the mighty British, he should eat meat because it will make him tall and strong. And he even experimented with that. And his friend who led him into this act of eating meat tried various methods of tempting him to eat more of it by changing the ingredients in the food. But finally, when his conscience spoke against it, and he said that last night in my dreams I saw, I heard a bleating goat in my stomach, and I said I killed it to fill my stomach. He changed his own views, but the journey he made to vegetarianism was not a passive journey. It was an active journey. It was a journey which took him through the forest and beyond the forest into open ground again. And so he went on record somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, to say that if I have had 4 or 5 conflicting views on the same subject, then you should take the last view as my firm view, because every time I get something new in my mind that changes my opinion about a past thought, then my thought changes. So I may appear to have contradicted myself, but if you hear me contradicting, then believe the last statement I made. And this points to the fact that he was an extremely open-minded person. And I've realized that if I or all of us implement that, we will listen to everyone properly. And listening to them will get a new dimension. Sometimes the dimension is worth imbibing. Sometimes that dimension is worth helping the other person to change. And whichever way it is, it helps for both to grow. And therefore, I feel that being open-minded is an extremely important thing. And when you're open-minded, it then corollary is that you seek the truth, because the truth is not any one thing. It is a cooperation of 100 things which leads to the truth. So when you read his book, My Experiments with Truth, it is basically he is trying to find about everything. He will find the reality and the truth behind every single dimension of life. And so you can only seek the truth if you are open-minded, or else you will be prejudicial, and that prejudice will prevent you from seeking what you believe is final, and that final belief will not be the truth unless you have examined every angle of the same thing. And so I feel, if you ask me which story influenced my life most, I say being open-minded. I can't say that I have achieved it, but I try hard.
That's such an insightful point about truth having many angles to it, or different, faces to it. So thank you for sharing that, sir. And just one more thing. I mean, you mentioned that open-mindedness is one of the most biggest influences in your life that you have taken from him. What else you think has influenced you deeply in your workspace, the kind of work you're doing now with children, with, is there anything that you feel that his life has influenced you in your workspace, in the causes that you're connecting yourself knowingly or unknowingly, as you've heard stories when you grew up?
See, in my workplace, I have had such a long innings in medicine that I have actually seen the transformation from a art of healing. It has become a commercial venture, and we see today where we were taught with a hammer and nail in our head. It was dinned in so distinctly that doctors don't advertise. Doctors don't. They have very strict ethical issues, ethical values, and then that Hippocratic oath which we are supposed to take when once you qualify as a doctor. And today you see advertisements on radio, on television, on buses, backs of buses. In fact, the entire bus uh, talking about which hospital gives you the best heart surgery, on which lab gives you the best uh, uh, investigations, and the entire setup has become commercial. You send for 2 tests and get back 10, and everything is under the name of package deal. Then you realize that you've seen a large amount of medicine, but to stick to your inner policies that you feel happy with, then my policy has been that if I have to help people to feel better, then I think prevention is better than cure. And therefore I spent a lot of my time in educating unaffected people on prevention. That's why I do the lectures, I do the camps, and I do seminars for corporate sector and for housewives and school children and everyone. So prevention helps me to keep my ethical conscience alive, saying that I am helping people to remain well rather than to seek treatment for diseases that I could have prevented. And so that was a figuratively going upstream in the Niagara Falls and catching them when the streams are slow. And that was one aspect which I thought was good. And then Gandhiji had very similar views. If you go to see, he was a proponent of nature cure. And nature cure is always more prevention, much gentler medicine, much cheaper. And I realized that incorporating values of nature cure in allopathic medicine had a multiplicating effect, where nature cure helped to heal much faster and the medicines required a much less. And then that led to the birth of maybe a peculiar way of my treating patients, which is different from many people. And many people come to me and say that your treatment is so different. You only write 3 drugs, and other people write 8 drugs. I say that's me, and if you like it, you're my patient, and if you don't like it, there are others who you can choose from. So uh, it has been uh, it has been a journey learning this stuff, different, to be different and to stick to your principles, and then to have principles to subscribe to, because sometimes we don't even have the principles to subscribe to. So fortunately we have been gifted with the principles by a strong set of teachers, a strong environment of influencers,
Mhm.
and the habit of reading. So I think uh, each one of us has that ability in him to become distinctively yourself and be yourself and not a clone of uh,
Very well.
prevailing custom. So you
True.
don't have to be a Xerox copy. Just be yourself, and that's unique.
Be uniquely yourself and carry your work. Wonderfully said. Thank you so much. And over to you, Usha.
Thank you, Anand. That was really wonderful what you shared. And I would like to ask you the last question, and of course, throw it open to the people out in the Zoom. As you know, you've been born into an entitled family. You've taken that mantle seriously and done the best. I just want to ask you, your sons, you have two sons. One of them is a lawyer who's followed his great great grandfather's footsteps. And as India is celebrating or celebrated her 75th year anniversary of India's independence, how can we be part of this historical path towards freedom? And what would you like to tell the youth of today?
I there are two ways of celebrating such a day. One way is to sit and commemorate what one great man did. And every year we do that. Every year we remember Gandhi ji, we say prayers in his honor, we give speeches and describe how great he was, and then go back after that and do exactly what we please, which is not necessarily focused on any kind of an end product. It is a sometimes futile and desperate bid to entertain yourself on a day which has suddenly been rendered devoid of any work or any fixed agenda. So that's one way of looking at how to celebrate this day. On the other day is that this day would be a turning point in your life if you decide to see the qualities that Gandhiji stands for, and to realize that Gandhiji was as much of a flesh and blood human being like all of us. He had the same 2 ears, the same two eyes, the same mouth, same nose, same skin and bones. Everything was same. What made him so great, and why are we not endowed with the same facility? And therefore, it comes to the point that Gandhiji realized that at that point there was a problem, and he subscribed to this, though he never said these words, that if it is going to be, it is up to me. And when he lived those words, he realized that if there is some injustice, I will speak up. And when you speak up, you sacrifice a lot of things, your own freedom, your comfort. You become the focus of a lot of criticism or even sometimes violence, as he was when he was thrown out of the train in Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. It was, if he wanted, he could have got up, dusted his clothes, and got into a Victoria and cursed the administration under his breath and gone about his work. He would have been like any one of us. But he decided that no, this was wrong. I suffered, and I'm going to retaliate. And he retaliated using principles of what he thought that time. But then later he employed non-violence, and he let himself evolve. And so I feel that if we take the qualities that he stood for, if we chase the qualities even to their roots, we realize that we are fully capable of using the same qualities. And if we did, we can stand up to problems that we face today, because now there is no freedom from the British to be obtained. So that doesn't mean that we are causeless. We have things like freedom from corruption, or freedom from mental bondage, and freedom from prejudice, which we can change within ourselves. And I think many times that such kind of days can become milestones where people can pick up the gauntlet at this point in time and say that, okay, henceforth, I'm going to involve at least one of his qualities and stick to it and see how your life changes. If nothing, at least manage your time better. If nothing, let's say I'll subscribe only to truth, or I'll subscribe to being more open minded, or any of those values. So I think today is a Tanner Day, which is kind of a milestone where we can reinforce Gandhiji's views in us. And he being a symbol, he only shed light on pre-existing values, and those pre-existing values are as timeless as the hills. So if every one of us decide to do one thing like this, then I think every Gandhi Jayanti will see a better world. And to me, that's a more meaningful way of celebrating this day, rather than like we do flag hoisting on the two special days. If those days we realize the meaning of the flag, or that act of flag hoisting, you'll realize many more things.
Absolutely, Anand. I agree with you. As a storyteller, I was reminded of this wonderful story, which is from Africa, a folk tale, where the village takes an oath that whether it rains or it shines, we will take this oath today, to do whatever, to believe in ourselves, and happiness lies within ourselves. So similarly, this is an oath. And also I'm reminded of this, somewhere I read, service is the rent we pay to live in the society.
Yeah,
So I think,
absolutely.
so if we all serve, I think nothing like that. Thank you. Over to you, Sarita.
Wow, it's been such a wonderful morning. Thank you, sir, for sharing your life's journey and the lessons and the values that you have shared about Gandhiji from your stories in your household. And I think I'll open it to the audience who are here with us on Zoom. If you would like to share something after this talk, please feel free to type on the chat, or if you wish to speak, we can definitely arrange for that as well. So, opening it for the audience who are here right now. I don't think we have received any requests. So yes, and on that note, I think so. There are a few things that will stay with me from today's conversation, and it's really put a lot of thought process, which is initiated thought process in my mind as well. One of the things the most which stands out the most is also to be it's up to me. And I think that's such a powerful line there in different contexts of life, and to do something, to speak about something, to take an action towards a cause, to do something in one's own life as well. In these times, we meet so many people for whom it's difficult to take that step. And I think it holds true for so many reasons. Talking about being uniquely yourself, having certain principles, and like you said, these are pre-existing values from which are timeless in India. And at Heritage Stories in Performing Arts and Itihaas Ke Pannon Se, we have realized it as we have shared over 50 stories of freedom fighters of our independence. And it has just strengthened my belief in that today, speaking to you here, that each and every one of these freedom fighters, irrespective of their age, gender, or economic background, stood up and said that it's up to me if it has to be. And that's why we are here today talking about freedom, talking about these people. And it's wonderful to have had this opportunity to listen to you. So once again, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Sarita, for first of all putting on such a huge mantle of responsibility on me. I hope I could live up to a little bit of it. It was a pleasure to talk to you about what I think, and I hope it is in resonance with the audience, and it helps people. It has helped me, and the endeavor is basically to not just blow my own trumpet, but help others through whatever experiences I may have had. If it helps them earlier in life, it will make more of us, and more of us is always a better place to live in.
Definitely.
Thanks so much, Usha, and thanks, Sarita. Yeah. And thank you all audience for being such a lovely audience. I wish it had been in person, but this way we network as easily as being in person.
Someday soon in person too, sir. And thank you, Usha, so much for being a part of this morning.
Thank you, Sarita. You're doing a wonderful job with Heritage Stories. And thank you, Anand, for always,
welcome,
ready to accept any invitation, anything. And that is the service that
you didn't leave me any choice. When you say you have to do it, I have to do it.
So, on that
Thank you.
note, wishing you all a
Thank you.
very happy Gandhi Jayanti, and I am hoping and praying that all of us had something very unique and important to take away from this. So, thank you, sir. Thank you, Usha.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've got some nice comments, and everybody's thanked and enjoyed this lovely morning.
Yes. And with that, for all of you who have joined us here at Heritage Stories and Performing Arts for the very first time, we at HSPA have three pillars that take us ahead. That's celebrate, share, and conserve. We do that with our sub-initiative, that's Itihaas Ke Pannon Se, where we come to you every Friday with stories of unsung heroes of our freedom. We have been doing it for 2 years. We recently had our live event where we bring to you inspiring and motivating stories. Our second initiative is Urban Heritage Conversations, where we speak to those individuals who live in urban spaces but share stories and live along with heritage as a very important part of their life. We also have Pratibimb, where we bring to you stories for adults, which are an opportunity to reflect, and we bring these stories through performing arts. So stay tuned to HSPA Facebook page and our Instagram, and we'll also have this program on our YouTube channel. So wishing you all a happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Usha. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.